Welcome, one and all, to the best, well, at least we think it's the best, PPC podcast. I am Cory Lindholm. Michael Nadalin is here on the screen. This is the PPC Unfiltered podcast brought to you by Cory and Michael. Michael, MarketLead.com. Go ahead and check them out over there. Amazing agency. Adsbycory.com. We are here to present a few topics to you guys. And welcome back for all of our long-term listeners and watchers. We love you guys. Leave the comments, like the video if you like what we're talking about. We got a few things we want to cover today. But first, Michael with the hearts. How's Michael doing, man? How you doing, man? How's things?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's Thursday morning. Vibes are good, man. We've had a really good pre-chat, so I'm feeling good. I'm excited for today's episode. A few things that are similar but also different. We're challenging ourselves to go after a fewer different topics today. So I'm feeling good, mate. Life's good, business is good. What about you?
Things are good. I'm in Chicago right now. Weather's fantastic. It's a great time to be here. So doing all the touristy things on the weekends and grinding away on the weekdays. So yeah, it's a great city. Yep. All right. So shall we dive into our first one? We'll ease into it here.
Let's do it, mate.
Let's jump in. Okay.
Let's go.
So, we have been, as you guys probably know, the more recent episodes, we've been kind of digging into the PPC Reddit forum and seeing, what are some interesting topics we think you guys could benefit from hearing our opinions on. And one that popped up that's somewhat popular right now is when we start a new account, like brand new, there's no historic data, whatever. What are the first things that we like to implement? What are the first things we like to look into when we have a new account? So, that's the topic. Michael, I'm going to let you get started. Initial thoughts?
Yeah. So just to confirm again, with historical data?
No historical data. Brand new.
As in you're building it up from the start?
Brand new account. Yes, sir.
Interesting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's very different from what I perceive when taking over an account, because most of the time when you take over an account, there's data in there, but I'm going to take this curveball and run with it. So the first things, is it the first thing or things?
I don't know. Whatever. It's a brand new account.
The first thing, there's one. If there's things, it's like the first, let's just say, stage.
Let's do that.
And this is moving beyond the advertising and then coming back to the basics. Mm-hmm. Number one, the first thing is to actually deeply understand what the business service or product is. Because one thing I've noticed over time is the less I kind of really understood the business, the more I was kind of stressed about the account. So one thing I've learned is to deeply understand the product or service before setting the account or starting building the account, because by really understanding that on a deep level, like speaking to the business owner, other stakeholders, just looking at the website, it just enriches the map in my mind or the team's mind towards what it is and how we go about it. Because once we understand what the business is, we can overlap that with our technical expertise to find to really create the perfect strategy. I really would say the first thing starting count is verify that you really know what they do. Don't guess, don't assume, really know. Once you've done that, the main things first things to do is number one, appropriate keyword research to really understand the market sentiment or intent around it, how many searches there are, just to ensure that you're kind of targeting the right area. The other thing I would say as well is, whilst Google search, the keyword planner will not give you the exact searches that people search for, you can kind of look, is there enough search? So then if I go for the more bottom of funnel or high intent terms, there will be enough search. And then I'll just go to the next next three, which is number one would be appropriate structure of the account, segmenting it by different lines of business or however you want to focus on it. Number two would be really solid, appropriate settings of those campaigns that you're setting up. And then number three, obviously, really just very, 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 very good conversion tracking. And when I've been saying that for so long, I'm trying to get to the words, but just there's so many times where conversion tracking is just not implemented properly. Sometimes it's as simple as putting a Google tag in a Google Tag Manager on a thank you page. Sometimes it's really the technical implementation, getting a developer to do it for an e-commerce website that's a custom built website. No matter if it's the simple one with Google Tag Manager or the advanced one, but you really need that down, because that is what's going to be guiding the algorithm and also guiding your own decision making. As an agency or as a specialist, you're not being paid to press buttons. You're paid for strategic decision making. If you do not have the right data, being it the data of what the business actually does, or the outcome-based data, being it the actual results you're getting, you're not going to be an effective and efficient strategic decision maker. So that's more of the mindset, So once again, I'll summarize it. Really understanding what the business does, really solid structure, really good settings, and really good conversion tracking. And then you're golden. I think there was something else in there, but I'll leave it for the audience to
Well,
remember. What are your thoughts, mate?
I would just add to that because I agree with everything you said. Those are going to be the biggest things to start with. You and I have done this so long, it just comes off the top of our head. That's
Yeah.
obvious. We want to get right into all those things. I think to maybe add to the first one around understanding the business is really getting clear on your objectives and your timeline.
Yes.
This is something that usually gets procrastinated because you just kind of want to get something going. Like you're excited about the promise of this new ad channel. You've heard good things from other business owners or whatever. You just want to get started. You want to start making money with this marketing channel, but getting clear on your objectives and your timeline. That's why I make it really clear when I'm taking over an account. I don't usually create new accounts. That it's not something I usually work with anymore. But if I was to advise on that, that is going to be something I would start with right away is, okay, what is break even for us? Look into your profitability. If you don't know them, know them. You need to know this stuff as a business owner or as a C-level executive, and you need to translate that for the agency that's going to be running the account and managing the campaigns. Otherwise, they're going to be in the dark. They're going to be like, what's an appropriate bid level? I don't know. What's our profit margins? Like, how do I need to back into that mathematically? And that means you as the client need to tell me, or if you're doing it yourself, you need to tell yourself, where are those break-even points? Now, it's okay in the beginning if you're not 100% clear, even if you just have like a range, like maybe it's between 2x and 3x return on ad spend, or the max cost per lead based on qualified leads and the cost associated with those is $50 a lead. Just get like $50 to $75 a lead or something. Just get something in there. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to optimize your campaigns essentially in the dark. You're like, maybe this is good. Maybe it's not. But you're going to eventually hit that point, decision points where you say, should we spend more aggressively, right? Should we spend more on this channel, on this campaign, whatever? You can't really answer that until you nail down those objectives and those break-even points. So super crucial that you do take a lot of time to figure that out. Again, does not need to be perfect. You can adjust it later, but I usually recommend start somewhat conservative. Generally speaking, everyone's going to be a little bit different here, but if you start really aggressive with a brand new account before you've developed a baseline of benchmarks for performance, you could end up kind of wasting a whole lot of money. Either your agency is doing that because they have a loose, very aggressive goal, but I would usually lean a little bit more conservative, try to find a balance and spend what you can, but don't just waste it all in the first month. If you've got a full quarter of a budget, don't waste it the first month. Try to balance that out. So I'd say that, and then timeline. Timeline is part two. Timeline just essentially means, okay, we want to be aggressive. Maybe the main objective here is this is brand new. We want to understand our marketplace. That's a very specific goal. And in that regard, we have to be more aggressive. Let's spend a lot. Let's do that quickly. Let's use match types like more phrase match, maybe broad, probably not for a brand new account unless you're really, really, really aggressive and you're like, YOLO, let's just spend and see what Google data we can get. But I would usually advise that you're gonna try techniques that are going to be a little bit more broad in nature to get. The goal is essentially data acquisition. Figure out what CPCs, click-through rates, post-click engagement rates look like, and then we can adjust later. For a lot of companies, they're not really going to have that ability to do that, right? They're going to be like, we want to kind of start conservative, but we understand it's going to take time before we can figure out what the benchmarks are going to be, right? So in that case, a little bit different. Focus a little bit more on exact, maybe a few phrase match things in terms of search keywords. If you're going to do shopping campaigns, maybe don't promote all of your products. Start with just the ones that you know are likely to perform. If you have absolutely no idea which products are going to work well, then in that case, yeah, you just got to kind of start from zero, put them all out there. But going into it, you got to spend a lot across those products to figure out your marketplace and see what's going to work. So it's not really different from what you're saying. It's more just like an elaboration on the first part. When you talk about knowing your business and knowing that you've really got to establish the objectives, the timeline for how quickly we need to get those results. And if that means data acquisition, probably going to be 3 to 6 months. If it's going to be, we need results right away, that still needs to be probably within the first like 1 to 3 months. It's not always going to be you turn it on and right away you start making profitable sales. You're going to have to dial that stuff in over time.
Yeah.
So,
Mate,
anything
love
else
it.
you want to add? Yeah.
And I think just the other thing to polish it all the top is setting clear expectations, as you were just literally mentioning there, and communicating that. Even when getting an account live, understanding is really the first thing you should do is set expectations and consistently manage expectations. And I think that's kind of like the whole thing that will polish on top. So regardless of, because even if someone who's watching this is running it in-house at a company, they will be reporting to a marketing director or a CEO, or even if you're a business owner watching this and you're self-serving yourself as managing your own expectations rather than just going, yeah, I understand that. Like there's setting your expectations. Like, yeah, I've set my expectations. Then a week later, like changing everything because you're not even managing your own expectations on the timeline, as you mentioned, and then just like what success looks like as well.
Yeah. And if you have no historical data, I want to add to that. It's not like you're really starting from zero. You can hire a market research firm that can look into your, establishing customer journey and persona mapping and all that good stuff. You don't have to necessarily start from zero. You also have PPC tools that are out there, the SEMrushes of the world, whatever, that can give you a general idea of what is your competition already doing, right? Like what are the people selling the same things as you, products, services, whatever? What are they using for ad copy? What's on their landing pages? How do they, what kind of keywords are they targeting? Now the data is probably going to be quite outdated. That tends to be just how it works, crawlability, etc. But it gives you a general idea, so you're not necessarily starting from zero. And Michael already alluded to the Google Keyword Planner. Microsoft has the same thing. You can try to figure out what are the higher competition keywords, what are people bidding the most for. Hint, hint, they're probably the most valuable things that you want to be going after in your brand new account. So
awesome.
Yeah,
and the other thing else, I've mentioned this in the past, it's just like, just maybe run ads for like 1 week and get the benchmark data of impression shares, cost per clicks, and all of those things. Obviously doing all the things that we recommended, but also just run it as like a 1 week trial for $500, $1,000. Just get some benchmark data to work with and then turn it off. It's better to spend $500 or $1,000 there getting real clean data rather than spending weeks or months hypothesizing, getting all these people to do things. Just get some data. And that's it. Even if you've got a new account, your new account doesn't have to be a new account within 1 week. It's now you've got data. So I think it's a good place to start.
I would just say, though, if you're going to do that, you probably want to invest in having a specialist set it up for you and do the research, because you could blow 500 so easily with a bad setup. And then you're like, oh, I guess Google Ads doesn't work for us. I used $500, but be careful about that. Make sure it's set up by someone that knows what they're doing. They've been doing this for years and years. They can speak to it. If they throw some jargon in there that you don't understand, probably a decent sign, that they know what they're talking about. So you want to look for people that are more technically oriented, people that have done this. They have case studies. They can point to similar industries or accounts to yours that they've had success with, and start there. Have them at least set it up for you. They're going to want to manage the account more likely than not. That's fine. Maybe just tell them, look, the best I can do is a 30-day engagement or a 90-day engagement or whatever. Give them the 90 days, set it up, and then go from there. And you've run the test. But don't expect it to be perfect right away, folks. Again, managing expectations to Michael's point. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay,
let's jump into our next segment, which is...
Okay, this is going to be... You want to get into portfolio bidding strategy? This is a good one. Let's get into this.
Let's do this one. So there's a target CPA or maximize conversions with a cost target hack that you can do. Now, one of the biggest limitations of maximize conversions with a... What do they call? What's the exact labeling right now with a cost?
Maximize conversions with a target cost per cost per acquisition. Yeah,
it changes
target
a lot,
CPA.
but we always just call it target CPA, even though that's kind of the intermediary name. And one of the downsides of that is you don't actually get to set a maximum cost per click bid limit, which means that if you're bidding for a lead for $100, maybe in the past you were paying $5 a click. So then you just, you get 20 clicks per $100. Your conversion rate is at, 5%. But then because of the nature of target CPA and the algorithms, they could just do a bid for $25 and then you've paid 5x what you did, or 17.5, and then sometimes $2 a click. And that can be really frustrating for a lot of advertisers, because when you've gone from having control over your cost per click and knowing your economics to Google pushing towards a model that is using all their data and algorithms, you're just going, I had this control that worked, I want to go further, but now I'm letting go of the control. So there's a bridge between those, but it's not even a bridge. It could be even the promised land beyond that, which is using portfolio bid strategies. Now, this title is an interesting title because I don't think it describes it properly. I think the best way to describe it is setting a target CPA, or you could do it like there's other bidding models you can do in there, but setting a target CPA for the account that you can actively apply to certain campaigns of your discretion. And within that, you can set a maximum cost per click bid. So therefore, you get the benefit of target CPA, or the maximized conversion with goal, but also have the ability to go, if I'm only paying $5 a click, I want the benefit of target CPA, but the benefit of control over CPCs. So
Yep.
I've just spoken a bit about the description of it. Corey, we're here to have a conversation. How
Yeah.
often do you use it? Do you use it?
Oh,
What are your
yeah, a
thoughts
lot.
on it? What are your results with it?
Yeah, I use it a lot. There's going to be cases. Well, let me start more basic, I guess. So it is it is a hack in a way. I mean, because I think even though it's been around forever, it's somewhat hidden. It's sort of like in its own
Yeah.
section. Like even when you're in the settings for the campaign, it's not obvious that you can do this. Google just kind of gives you the defaults of maximize conversions with a target CPA or without one, maximize conversion value with the target ROAS or without one, or in some campaign types you have maximize clicks. And actually it's interesting because with maximize clicks, it sort of hints that maybe it is possible to set a maximum bid limit, right? And you're like, wait, is this possible for others? And it seems, unless you knew about portfolio bidding strategy, that you can't do that. But
Yeah.
the beauty of a portfolio bidding strategy is you can both set a maximize CPC, but also, and kind of underrated, as a minimum CPC. What's the
Yes.
minimum you're willing? Now, this can be good, right? Because yes, we don't want to overpay for certain clicks, but we also don't necessarily want to tell Google it's okay to underbid. Maybe we know something that we're not feeding into Google Ads for smart bidding. Like we know that if we start spending only so much for a click, it tends to generate really low quality leads or something like that. Well, in that case, tell it, like, I don't want you to be like under aggressive. I want you to make sure you always spend at least $1 on a click, because we found every time CPCs, or most often when CPCs are like 25 cents, it just ends up being like really low quality leads. That's good information. And then you can utilize the min CPC setting. So yeah, very, very fantastic to even have this as an option. I hope so much that Google does not deprecate portfolio bid strategies. If anything, I'd love for them to just sort of combine it into the settings when you're looking at campaign settings, rather than being like a separate section. Just have it integrated into when you're setting up a new campaign or when you're changing and editing an existing campaign. But I love them. No, it's really, really great to have.
I like using on accounts, and I'll be honest, I tend to forget that it exists, except for when I look at accounts, I'm like looking at the portfolio bid strategy. I'm like, yes, this works. And then the results are solid. It's just that it's just a bit clunky to implement it and apply it and set it up. And there's a lot of things to it that just don't make it as seamless as Google likes to, with the whole one-click campaign setup.
Yeah.
It's a very clunky way to originally find where the actual setting is in the Google Ads interface, create it, apply it, and then do the settings. I think you've actually got to like go into one or two kind of like subsidiary openings of it to do it. But I think about clients who have not like extreme sensitivities to cost per click, but there is. And I want to make sure that I have the ability to control the maximum cost per click, whilst also giving them the benefit of the advancements of Google, because not all of these smart bidding things are evil. Like, it's a very polarizing thing where it's like, is it good or bad? It's like, it's good and bad, and it's bad and it's good. And we've got to figure out ways as experts, as people, anyone who advertises, how do you get all the upside whilst minimizing the downside? And the downside being, in terms of search campaigns, low quality traffic, expensive traffic, Yeah, probably those two things. And then, but even for like things like PMAX, trying to like not be in bad placements, all that type of stuff. So this is a really good, powerful strategy. Particularly, I only use it for search, by the way, just for context.
Mhm.
And I found that it's really beneficial. And I don't even know if you can run on other networks. I suppose you could. Like, I think there's a Target ROAS one, but I haven't used that yet. But
Sure.
with search campaigns with a target CPA on it or a target cost per lead, and using this, I found it actually very beneficial, especially in industries that can be quite competitive, yet
Mhm.
also you may not have the budget to be as competitive as other competitors in the market. So then you can't have that luxury to bid quite aggressively on things that may put you in a top position that Google would prefer you to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you can use this. I mean, I was just looking in the interface. I mean, nowadays you can use it across more than it used to just be a lot more limited in the bid strategy that you can utilize. Let me go back. Fastest way, if you guys are curious, so you don't have to like search for it. Just use the search bar, guys. I don't love the newest version of the interface, so just search for it. If you know it exists and it's out, just type in portfolio bidding strategies in the search, it'll come up. So target CPA, we can use it for that. Target return ad spend, so target ROAS, maximize clicks, maximize conversion value, and target impression share. So it's not limited to target CPA or target ROAS.
Yeah.
So if you have a campaign that's using target impression share for whatever crazy reason, you can go in there and you can still set it as a portfolio bidding strategy. So just know that you're not limited there. And you don't, it's not limited to search. You can use it for shopping campaigns as well. And that's actually more often where I'm going to use it is shopping campaigns.
Yeah.
What I don't like is, this happens a lot with e-commerce when you have a product catalog that's really large and you have size variance for products that can range from $25 to like $1,000, and you have a target ROAS, and those products for whatever reason are in the same campaign, and Google wants, or even the same ad group, and Google wants to set a target return ad spend across all those different price points. And so you can, if you don't use something like a max CPC, you can easily see that for the search term, like let's say search term ABC, the CPCs could be $125, right?
Wow.
But the problem is maybe that person only wanted to buy the $25 version, so you have these issues. So you got to be very careful about that and kind of foresee that happening. Therefore, if you know that very few people buy the $1,000 version and most people buy like the $25 to $50 version, use that for
Yeah.
like a max CPC. Don't let Google overbid because it sees that you could sell it for a high price point, and its intent signals think the person is likely to buy a really high priced version. Believe me, guys, it's smart, but it's only so
Yeah.
smart. It's not going to be able to 100% predict the person's going to buy the $1,000 version. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's the thing is, remember, smart bidding's only as smart as the data you input to it. And you've got to have more control on the front end because
Yeah.
it will try to it has too much data to work with,
Yeah.
which means that it's not going to be, so you've got to it's too much data plus your knowledge to try and bring them into clicking together.
Mhm.
And that's just, as you're saying this, Cory, I'm like, wow, even my mind's expanding, but it's we need to ensure that even with all these powerful AIs, bidding models, algorithms, all the stuff, all the fancy words they use, the polished words, basically the data intelligence that's external, it's still like a pool of data and also blending in yours that we still have control over it to ensure that we are not overpaying. It's
Mhm.
simple as that. This is an
Yeah.
investment at the end of the day, and we want to make sure we spend this much, and then we get a good return on the macro level. But then the macro is made of the micro, and that's where you got to have the discernment and the intelligence to know that, okay, based on this client, as we were saying in the last segment, you've got to know the client, their products, their product ranges. And you say we could have something for in the same range for $25 and one for $1,000. And by not knowing that intelligence, you could just be running ads for years and just be like, yeah, the results are subpar, and you just do that tweak, and then the ROAS explodes or the revenue just shifts
Mhm.
significantly. And
Absolutely.
this isn't a hack per se, it's just a strategy that you implement yourself and you
Yeah.
see if it works. A hack is do this one button click and everything fixed. A strategy is, here's something that could potentially work based on your business, based on the strategy, based on the implementation of it as well.
Awesome. I think that's it for portfolio bidding strategy. I mean, they are pretty straightforward. There's not a bunch of advanced settings. It's really just you choose a search or standard shopping campaign that you want to apply it to. And I would say one beautiful thing, it's, again, the name is deceiving, portfolio.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to put multiple campaigns. You could literally have a portfolio bid strategy, a different one for each campaign if you
Yeah.
want to. Totally fair, and that's great. You probably should do that because maybe you don't want the same max or minimum CPC for everything or multiple campaigns.
Yeah.
Just know that it's a little bit of a deceiving name. They probably will change it eventually. I think it's a very old school. I mean, it's been called that since forever, since it came out,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
Since
So
Google
yeah, you
AdWords.
could. What's yeah, since
Since
Google
Google
AdWords. Let me
AdWords.
find the book. Yeah, but yeah, guys, you can do it for a single campaign. That's totally fine. A good example is like branded search. If you're using automated bidding, you know that you do not want to, you don't want to pay more than whatever $25 a click or $1 a click or
Mm.
whatever it is. Go ahead and use that. Otherwise, use manual bidding. Set it yourself. So, yep.
The other thing, just to quickly actually like make people's lives easier, I don't have to do this, but this will make your life easier. Number one, just be really cautious about how you set it up, because I think from what I've seen, and this is just from what I've seen, so it might just be my account, you can apply the same bid portfolio bid strategy across multiple accounts. So just make sure you're
You
applying it to the
can.
right account.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
that's maybe where the portfolio bid strategy is for. It's like the portfolio of your clients or the accounts in the MCC or
Yeah.
your management center.
True.
So that's a really important one. Where there comes to the next stages, and this is the next two things, is number one, name it appropriately. So this is how I name it: client name dash whatever the bidding maximize conversions target CPA
Mhm.
dash whatever the CPA is, like $150 dash max click at $8 or $2, whatever it is. So that way, when I go in there, I know what client it's for, what the bidding model is, what the target CPA is, and then what is my maximum click. Granted, I do that. And then make sure that when you're in your ad account, when you're setting up your columns, I just set it up as a column is like what bidding model strategy or the name of the portfolio bid. That way, when I'm looking at the campaigns, I can go, okay, this one's actually a portfolio bid for this campaign. This one isn't, or whatever it is. And
Mhm.
then I also know the insights of it, because like it's actually quite hard if you just call it like portfolio bid strategy one. That has no information to it.
Yeah.
You've got to make sure that you're on the highest level possible. It's as simple as possible to make this like understandable.
Yeah. One thing I'll add is just make sure you're careful because I think people can find out about this stuff and then they over abuse it. They're just like,
Use it
let
on
me like
everything. Yeah. Yeah.
everything, and they get really conservative with the max
Yeah.
CPC, and it's not even really backed by a lot of data analysis. They're just like, man, I personally feel like we shouldn't pay more than
Yeah.
$5 a click, so I'm just going to put that on there, and then you limit yourself. And then the smart bidding is like, man, the only way I can get a good sale on this with a target ROAS is to pay $5.01. But you've already told Google, nope, can't go after that, and all of a sudden you're getting
Yeah.
lower quality leads, you're getting less sales, and it's going to just be a vicious cycle of it getting
Yeah.
less and less confident, spending less and less of your budget, and you're making less for your business. So
Yeah.
just be careful. Don't go crazy with the max CPC.
Well, that's where and I thought we were going to like end this segment, but this is what happens. We keep evolving ideas, and then you've got to go, well, the reason why I want this is because I don't want my usual $5 bid to blow out to a $25 bid. That's ridiculous,
Exactly.
even a 20.
Yeah.
So then it's actually just going, what is my threshold above $5 that I'm willing to pay? And it's not saying that, oh, if I push it to $10, Google's going to do $10 every click. It's the max. So
Mm-hmm.
really also going, rather than going, I don't want to pay more than $5 a click, it's like, yeah, of course. But then what happens if it was $6 a click? Would you want to do that if it was a good click? And you'd be like, yeah. And it's like, okay, well then that threshold. And just keep going. I think just doing the self exercise, like what's the maximum threshold?
Yeah.
Even if it was $5 a click, that if it's $15, you might be like, no way, or $10. But just don't be so constricted to like, no, the $5 cost per click in the past. Just be like, no, we
Yeah.
want it to have some flexibility. Is it a 20% variation? Is it 100% that you can go from 5 to 10? Just exercise that idea in your mind. Once again, this is how expertise is generated, by reviewing data and doing self-reflection and then tuning into yourself and seeing like what's your threshold to pay more. Once again, $25 for a click that should be $5 is ridiculous. But $7 for a click for something that's $5, it's not. So figure out what seems ridiculous to you, and it'll give you more clarity on how to give it a bit more flexibility so you can leverage the intelligence behind these systems.
Yeah, and also don't be like overly reactive. Sometimes you got to be proactive with stuff like this. If you go on your search terms report over the last 180 days or something, it's like, yeah, I mean, I guess we could do a portfolio bidding strategy, but what we already have, it never really bids above $5. So I guess we're good.
Yeah.
Google will probably find an excuse to eventually bid like $50 for a click.
Yeah.
And you'll see that and you go, man, I wish we didn't waste all that money.
Yeah.
You can be proactive with this stuff. And I would recommend that. Yeah, just assume it'll eventually do it. Go ahead.
And what makes this so much easier for you is just if you've run this campaign as a manual cost per click for ages, and you've got a very clean line of traffic coming through, the search terms are very clean, you're happy with it, no rubbish is coming through for the last week, 14 days, 3 months, whatever it is. So then when you turn on these algorithms, but you put on the clicks, even when it bids higher, it's bidding higher on qualified traffic that from your past experience works. Exactly. Very important as well. Because there's two bits to it. Number one, make sure the campaign has conversion data to it. You don't start off with this, by the way. I would not start off with this. No. But knowing there's enough conversion data and the bill of traffic, the traffic is just very clean. The search terms are clean. So then when you give over to these models, you can get the benefit of it accelerating with its intelligence, but not accelerating the cost per click. So this thing sucks. This really sucks, not only when your $5 click goes to a $50 click for the same keyword, but it's when your $5 click goes to a $50 click for something like Google Ads Management PDF file. And you're like, no, there's DIY optimizations. Yeah. So this, I'm just made to put that in because it can become extremely frustrating with this stuff. Doesn't happen to me. I'm overly analytical with the quality of traffic. But for most people, they will do this and the traffic will be poor. That is just like a stake through the heart. Have good quality traffic. So if it does bid a bit too high, you're bidding high on good traffic. Just want to say it's super important.
Very good point. Yep. All right, let's leave it there. Michael, anything else you wanted to add? Yeah?
No, mate, I'm good. Let's jump into our last segment, which is now PMAX updates and what we still like about Performance Max. And we'll start from the end, not starting from the end, but just to really go with what we still like about it, because there's a lot of talk about what people don't like about Performance Max. Yeah. We are guilty of that. But with there's a lot of benefits that we still do it for some clients some of the time, or most clients most of the time, whatever it is. And the reason why is there actually are benefits to it. So we'll discuss what we're currently liking about it, not in the past. It's what we're currently liking about it, maybe some results we're seeing. But then we can also just chat about now the recent updates.
Okay. Do you have you happen to have that Reddit thing pulled up?
Mate, I do. Let me just pull it up.
Let's give the folks a visual here.
Now I'm going to get you to read it because I don't have my glasses on. So I can put them on, but I don't want to look like a nerd.
No. Okay, no worries. All right.
I'll tell you after the call something really petty I heard about glasses. Okay. So, Cory, I'll let you read this.
All right, so Google just dropped a game-changing Performance Max. Okay, I'm going to just edit this myself. So Google dropped game-changing PMax updates. Which ones are actually worth it? So this is, to some degree, we are a couple weeks late on this, but updates on August 7th, including campaign-level and negative keyword lists. Actually, also ad group level, which I really like. That's pretty cool. Expanded search themes from 25 to 50. Device and age targeting, cool. And enhanced new customer reporting. They're also adding creative insights and final URL expansion reporting. The negative keyword list features seem most practical, agreed, for managing brand safety across multiple campaigns. The expanded search themes could help with reach, but I'm curious about quality implications for those already testing these new Performance Max features. Which updates are delivering actual performance improvements versus just more reporting noise? Any early wins or unexpected issues with the new targeting controls? And I realize, reversing a little bit, I said that incorrectly. I said you could also add. I don't want people to think the wrong thing. I said ad group level negatives. That's not what I meant. What I meant is you can get the data, the search term data, at the ad group level.
Yeah.
You can't add ad group level negatives. I said that wrong. I don't want people to get all excited and go,
And we're
Cory
not going
said
to edit
this.
this either.
That is not the case. You cannot do ad group level negatives, but you can. The thing I got excited about, which what I was kind of jumping ahead to, which you can actually see the search terms and the cost level data at the ad group level, which is huge. Even though you can't have the negatives at that level, it still gives more insight. Anyway, just going back to that. Okay, so what are the big ones here? I mean, I think the search themes 25 to 50 is kind of like whatever. I mean, search themes are great. I haven't seen enough evidence to support that using them is going to dramatically improve performance. Again, it's sort of just like a hint to Google, like this is generally what we want to be going after. Obviously, best practice is to just use them, because why not? I don't think you should spend hours upon hours over researching and overthinking search themes. That's my personal advice. But the negative keywords and being able to add them to yourself rather than going through Google Rep, obviously that's a big one, Michael. Debatable how aggressive you want to get with those negative keywords. That's a whole nother topic. And then I think device and age targeting, fantastic, right? That is the type of control that we would like. I mean, many brands don't want to waste a marketing budget on 18 to 24-year-olds. It's just not aligned with their product, not aligned with what they know about the market. So to be able to have that level of insight is really helpful. What about you? What do you think are like the bigger ones that you think are kind of snoozers, and which ones are exciting and you're glad to have?
So, campaign level negative keyword lists.
Mm-hmm.
When did this roll out? Was this only recently?
No, I mean, the person said August 7th. That doesn't sound right. I think we've had this for at least a couple months, I want to say. It
Yeah,
feels like
because
it's been a little while.
as a Google Ads expert, part of being an expert is cutting out the noise of like
Mm-hmm.
seeing what everyone's writing online. And I've just noticed, well, actually, Jack, who's in my team and works with me, I was like, we're talking about negative keywords. He's like, oh, bro, this is how you add it into the PMAX campaign. I'm like, what? I didn't know you could do that. And he's like, yeah, you could be doing it for like this amount of time. So I'm always, when I hear this news now, I'm like, I'm trying to figure out, is this something that's already been out and then it's now publicly available, or
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of semi rolled out? Because I'm just going into an account right now and I know how to like add negative keywords to a campaign level.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that and it works successfully. But I'm like, how long's that been for? And because sometimes you get things not even as beta, but like beta features, but they've just been rolled out to your account just randomly. And then you're like, okay, cool, this is a thing. Maybe I'm late to the party. And then there's a new story like 4 weeks later. You're like, oh, this is now out. I'm like, I'm going crazy. So campaign negative keyword lists, I've been able to use those for clients recently without even
Yeah.
knowing this news. Secondly, what I've been really liking, I don't even know if this is news or not, but actually being able to see there's the search themes that show on the account on the ad group level, but actually adding in negative keyword lists, like actually seeing the keywords. Is that a thing that's been out for a while, the keywords, like seeing the
So
actual search terms?
yeah, well, hold on, real quick, because I'm thinking
We're
back and
going
I'm
around
like,
the
wait,
block.
I think it was January. It was like January of this year that we've had this, so it's not like a brand like the campaign
Okay.
level negatives. It's been a long time. I was thinking a couple of months, but I was like, time's flying. I think it's been a lot longer than that, and the documentation doesn't give the exact date. I'm sure I could find the press releases, but I'm seeing articles that do, yeah, exactly, January 2025. So these have been out for a while. This isn't
Yeah.
necessarily like a brand new thing. But again, we're just pulling up the Reddit article and reading it
Yeah.
as we go.
Because
But anyway, going back to your question. Go ahead.
yeah, just kind of like I think this is the whole thing about PMAX is there's so many things that are happening. I think two things I always think in frameworks, but in terms of PMAX or any product for advertising, be it Google Meta, number one, the first thing we always need is the ability to have the transparency on the data, age, placements, search terms, whatever it is. PMAX was like very black box with the data, the transparency on data. And Mike Rhodes built out his tool, and that gave more transparency by reverse engineering numbers. This is starting to give us more transparency.
Mhm.
But the other thing is there's no point having transparency on data if you can't actually like acutely do something about that data being at like a mobile device. So the fact that they're giving more control now around device, where was that? Device and age targeting. So there'll be the data available and also the ability to make changes to it. Because the worst thing is no data, transparency, and no control. The second worst thing to that is data, transparency, and no control.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these things are good. And whilst they're not going to save the day, they're just moving. I think they're just giving more transparency and more control to advertisers to really start just to trim out some things in the ad accounts. But all of these things like negative keyword list features, brand safety, I don't have any brand safety issues. I just think like I think this is moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think it's moving in the right direction. It's not perfect. And I think sometimes when you see results like this, it's like, I get it. Like there's too many old school advertisers who just like get to like this. I'm like, we've got to move with the times. And sometimes they release a product to evolve the technology, but then in that they haven't done it in a way that once again gives data transparency or control over action. So just, I think these are moving in the right direction. I'm not negative about it. What are your thoughts? I've just kind of talked for a long time.
No, I agree with like pretty much everything you said. I just think I'm trying to think which part of those I want to go to because there's a lot of rabbit holes here. So I'm trying to be somewhat cautious of time, but I do think there's a lot of good things with this. I know initially one of the things I was excited about with Performance Max campaigns is this is the next evolution of smart shopping. Okay, great. A lot of us that did e-commerce, smart shopping was our main thing. Obviously, we had some manual campaigns, stuff like that, the more standard shopping approach. And then we found out very quickly that once we moved out of the beta and stuff, that there was limited insights and limited control. And we're like, well, let's just ride this wave and we'll get that stuff eventually. That's the idea. And I felt good about that. And then as we've had a couple years, it seems now with performance, we're still lacking a lot of the insights. It feels like it's taken quite a while just to get something as simple as like device targeting. Like, come on, like that should have been rolled out right away.
3 years?
I was going to say, I mean, maybe it's been a couple of years now that we've had this stuff out. And it's always been limited in terms of insights, which, going back to our main topic of what do we still like about PMAX, in that it sort of alludes to there's a lot not to like about it, which we've talked about in the past. There's nothing dramatically different there. And one of the biggest things we don't like is the lack of insights, right? The fact that we couldn't get rid of 18 to 24-year-olds in our target audience. The fact that we couldn't just get rid of mobile traffic or desktop traffic or something like that because CPCs are too high or whatever. Now that we're getting that, it's taken this many years. It's a bit of a concern that it's taken this long to get somewhat, at least seems like very simple settings. And I think going back again, the topic, what do we still like about it? I mean, I do still like Performance Max for the promise of sort of cross-attribution channel marketing and new customer acquisition type stuff and being conversion first sort of campaign type. I still feel like that's just really, I don't know. It's a little bit vague, and I get it technologically, but I just don't see that it necessarily outperforms standard shopping. So I guess my point is it's taken this long to get basic insights that we've had with standard shopping forever. So, I think most advertisers are still going to lean towards standard shopping, even with these new updates. And I can't say that they're wrong. I think that standard shopping is still going to give you the insights and the control that advanced advertisers, and honestly, most advertisers should want. It doesn't mean don't do Performance Max, but this does maybe start opening the doors that it's going to keep evolving and we're going to get more insights and control. I don't know. Maybe I'm pessimistic, but I don't know how much it's going to keep evolving and we're going to get, is it just going to eventually be smart shopping? And we've just had to wait, 10 years until it got back to where it was in its own way. That doesn't sound realistic, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
I like it. I'm going to be, I definitely understand the sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
We're having a lot of success with Performance Max with new clients who are launching newer campaigns or they're actually launching a new store with us. And I know this because we're running the feed on standard shopping and then running on PMax, and PMax, Like we run standard shopping for X amount of time, doesn't get any sales, spends the amount of money, run on PMax feed only, boom, real sales coming through, like actually, attributed directly from Google, not. So I'm not going to know how it works in the background because no one does. But I do know when I'm running literally not a split test side by side where it's like cannibalizing the traffic, but I'm seeing more and more that just personal experience, and we've both got our own individual experience, is that for us, it's performing very well when done very strategically. Solid feed setup, feed only, just like segmentation. I don't know. I'm going to hypothesize, because we get the cross placement on YouTube and all the other networks where you can get their shopping listing and there's some intelligence behind it versus standard shopping is, I don't know, whatever it is. I do like it. I just like it when it's done properly. When it's done properly, once again, it comes down to like knowing the client, knowing the business, knowing your outcomes, and knowing if you should be running assets on it or not. And probably most of the time with my clients, I'm not running assets on them. So I want the power of PMax, but with the control and the cleanliness of the standard shopping. And it gives me the ability to do both. And that's why I'm really proud and fortunate to say that like we've been able to grow and scale our e-commerce clients, is because we're trying to take the best of both rather than go this or that. Like it's just going like, how do we try and merge them together very strategically, almost scientifically, like knowing the data and doing the data analysis to make it work. But definitely what you're saying with the sentiment is like, you've just got to know the data, like your data too well. And that gives you the ability to know that what isn't good about Performance Max for your clients at that time period of time. And there could be times where they really want to push a product that's just not working on standard shopping, and PMax just works, just maybe for that specific product or product range, and you're using it like nothing's working here. Just like Google, just like flood the market and see what magic you can do. And then if it works, you're like, let's just keep this going.
Funny enough, you read my mind on that. That has happened several times where, I pride myself on data analysis skills, and I still have times where there's certain products, product types, product categories, whatever, that, man, every time we try to take them from Performance Max to standard shopping, just fails. And for whatever reason, those products just do so well with Performance Max. And no matter what we do over time, negative keywords, settings, bidding strategy levels, et cetera, just can't seem to outperform Performance Max, even given a long timeline. And I'm like, because again, we don't know what's going on in the black box itself, and the difference in a target ROAS that's set for standard shopping for the same products as a target ROAS that's set for the same products in a Performance Max campaign. And again, this is not running them side by side. So this isn't even that. This is like literally testing during the same time of the year. It's a different year, but the same time of the year. And we just cannot get it to where standard shopping can outperform Performance Max for those products, and vice versa. That's the other thing. This is the reality, guys, is, and most of the time, to be completely honest, most of the time standard shopping is going to perform better, for me at least, with a lot of the products, most of the products, than Performance Max. But that's only because I'm utilizing those deeper data analysis skills to manipulate the settings and dial in the controls based on what I've analyzed and what I figured out. And we need to promote these things in this certain way that Performance Max doesn't have the controls for. But for most advertisers, they're still probably going to find a lot of success with Performance Max because they don't need either, like maybe they don't have enough conversions flowing through for standard shopping to get enough data quickly for you to then use those controls to dial in and over time. Like there's a lot of nuance to this, and I don't want this to be a conversation of do we use Performance Max or do we just use standard shopping, because it is going to vary, and some products are going to do well in one way versus another, and there's a ton of nuance to that. But that's not a hot take for me. It's a cold take, but it's going to work well sometimes. Sometimes it's not. You just have to test things out, guys.
You got to be flexible, and it's not just like for PMax in general or standard shopping in general. You got to be flexible for the individual account, and beyond the account, it's the business, and beyond the business is that maybe product line, and even beyond that product line, it could be that time of year. There's so many factors, so you just can't go into the meta level and just go, it's good or bad, or it's good for my business, bad for business. You've got to keep drilling down to the micro level understanding. Yeah, maybe for 80% of the products it's not the best for, but 20% it's able to sell things that just cannot sell in standard. Or it could be the same way around where PMax is just not selling these things. You're like, I want these to work, and then having more control over it, more like bidding strategies and targeting and just like even just budget allocation, it works. But you've got to, there's no hack here. It's always know your data, know the strategy, implement it, review the data, and then just keep moving forward from there rather than going, it's bad, it's good.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this in MarketLead as well, but when you use Performance Max, it tends to figure out intent quicker of search terms. Like the search term universe, even with the same smart bidding strategy and the same target levels, it tends to like figure out the intent behind the search terms much faster in some cases than a standard shopping campaign. And maybe that speaks to something that's going on behind the scenes. And believe me, guys, I've tested this extensively across different accounts, different sizes, different industries. Because I've been wondering this myself, like, why have I just seen this over and over, that when I put these products in Performance Max, regardless of whether I started them in standard shopping or Performance Max, when they're in Performance Max, it tends to figure out the intent much quicker than the same bidding strategy in standard shopping with relatively the same settings. And that's what's kind of interesting, is maybe that's part of this, of what we're talking about. Some products can just do much better with Performance Max because they need to be able to pick up those intent signals quicker, which means the smart bidding can start firing quicker and get confidence quicker. And if it doesn't have that, it just tends to fail in Performance Max. Therefore, we need to move it into standard shopping because, I don't know, there's something we don't know. And that's the thing, guys, even though we're experts at this, we don't know everything that's going on algorithmically. We just have to kind of monitor our accounts and test things and say, you know what, overall, the consensus seems to be Performance Max is really strong in these areas. And then we have to strategically say, you know what, in that case, because it can do that, it has those strengths, let's plug in these products into this, and vice versa for standard shopping. So
that is so interesting you say that. And I just want to share a direct experience, even from a client that we went live with last month. And I think I shared this on the podcast. Like, we went live with a new e-commerce store. So they're a current client. All this stuff happened. They literally created a new website, same product feed, but new website, new merchants, and everything. Start fresh, no SEO, nothing. When we started, we spent about $500 on standard shopping, no sales. Maybe $300, $500, no sales. I was like to the team, let's just send over Performance Max feed only. They're getting a 15x ROAS. They've made over $100,000 in the first month. So they've only spent 5, 6, 7K. So they've gone from standard shopping, same product, same everything, bidding model, like we're just doing some like standard biddings, good search terms, we'll clean it up. $300 to $500, nothing, literally Performance Max. It was immediately at a 22 ROAS, and it's pulled down to a 15x. That is ridiculous, a ROAS, let alone they're getting, I think they've done thousands of sales. So like they're low ticket sales for products, but they're quite competitive in the market. But just seeing that, literally just changing the campaign to PMax feed only is literally turned it into tracking to be a 7-figure business, or it's already a 6-figure new campaign in less than a month.
Yeah.
With the 15x ROAS. And it's not like we're so good. It's just being good with strategy, good with feed optimization, and just knowing these things. But it's just, that was a night and day. There's no past data. It's clean. There's no SEO on the website. There's nothing that it can leverage off. So it's like, where's it getting this intelligence from? I don't know, because you can't go from getting $500 worth of clicks on low cost per click, so maybe a few thousand clicks, to getting PMax just smashing out of the park. And I've linked we've got all these tools. The Shopify data matches up exactly with the Google ads. I think the Google ads is the revenue of the companies, probably Google ads revenue is about 90% of the revenue. They're getting some SEO traffic or repeat people now. But I'm like, just to go to your point, like there is some way that it's picking up search intent or buying intent data faster, even with feed only, with no audiences that have been plugged in, previous data sales. Like there's none of that stuff. There's no retargeting list. It was just clean, cold, out to market, no layering, nothing.
No search themes, nothing like that?
No search themes, purely just feed only,
Yeah, because it's feed only. Yeah, so there you go. Interesting, guys. Well, I hope that at least, I mean, guys, we don't have all the answers. I mean, we do. We just can't share them all because,
You're going to pay
it's
us a lot of
free.
money. You're going to pay us. Come on. We're going to
But
ease.
but hopefully this gets some of the gears going for you guys to start thinking, well, if that's the case, and that's guys that manage a lot of spend and a lot of accounts, and they've been doing this a long time, if that's been their direct experience, how can we get creative with that knowledge? And that's kind of what we're hoping, is just to inspire some of that creativity for you guys in your own accounts. I mean, again, we don't have all the answers really. We don't know what's going on in the black box. We're hypothesizing as best we can based on all of our direct experience, but there's going to be a lot of takeaways from this that you can apply to your own account. So hopefully it was helpful. And Michael, where can everybody find you, sir? We got to wrap this up. We got to run.
Beautiful. MarketLead.com.au, MarketLead on YouTube, Michael Nadalin on LinkedIn. Cory,
Beautiful.
find you, mate.
Yes, sir. Adsbycory.com. I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify for the podcast. And as always, guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thanks for watching. Leave us a comment, like us, subscribe, and we shall see you in the next one. Thank you guys so much. See you guys.